The Cleveland Cavaliers are up 30 points in the fourth quarter, so the All-NBA show decided to go live a little early. We're going to be talking about that, teams that have expired. We're also going to talk about LeBron James's future, and the conference finals are at least in part about rest versus rust. We're talking about all of that and more on today's All-NBA show. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/AllCity. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I am reunited once again. My good friend, my esteemed colleague, Marc Stein of the Stein Line and the DLLS Mavericks podcast. Marc, how you doing today?
You didn't hear I got traded to BUF. I got traded to the BUF podcast.
I see that. How many Sabres podcasts have you done? You've done at least one.
I've actually been on their Sabres live show, which is basically a podcast that doubles as a radio show, that triples as a TV show. I've been on that twice this season, and that is always a huge honor for me because I cannot believe they're asking me to analyze hockey. But hey, man, it's our first playoff run in 15 years. I was at Game 5. We lose Game 5 at home to go down 3-2. I was scheduled to go to Montreal for Game 6. Would have been my first game in Montreal in my life. So much NBA work to do. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't go to Montreal. I come home and end up missing one of the greatest games in franchise history. 8-3 win Saturday night on ABC.
Let's go.
Game 7 is Monday in Buffalo, and probably good news for the Sabres. I could not get back to Buffalo for Game 7. The flights were chaos. The NBA is chaos, so I'm going to have to watch that one on TV.
Well, good luck to you, man. Maybe our Avs and Sabres will meet in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Oh, my goodness.
And we'll have the most contentious shows ever. It'll be great.
Well, if the Sabres, I will say this. If the Sabres win Game 7, if they beat Montreal in Game 7, it's me against Tom Dundon and his Carolina Hurricanes.
And there you go, man. Get ready for it. That's exciting, though, for you. I'm going to have to text you during the game tomorrow. Or maybe after the game. I don't know if you're going to be willing to text during a Game 7. Those are always tough. On today's show, though, we're getting back to the NBA. As I mentioned, the Pistons are about to fall. I mean, it's only a matter of time. The clock runs out here. But they are going to fall in Game 7 of the conference semifinals. And I want to start. We're going to talk about the Cavs, what this series means for both of them, and what people around the league are saying about both teams. But I want to start with the Pistons because they escaped round 1 in 7 games, a 3-1 comeback. They had this incredible year, escaped Game 1, played some good basketball in parts. But boy, are there a lot of storylines now as you try to build the team going forward around them. Some guys who have looked very good, some guys who have looked very bad. What are people saying about the Pistons? And was this season a success? In the majority of people's eyes around the league circles?
I think it still goes down as a success because they won a playoff series, which is something they hadn't done since 2008. But look, this was the number 1 seed. They went down 3-1 to Orlando. They went down 3-2 in this series. Now they forced a Game 7 with an amazing win on the road.
Great win.
But they clearly had nothing left. And Donovan Mitchell has put on a show. And this Cavs team that have really been, they've been under the microscope and have been just crushed all season and postseason long. I mean, this is quite a statement, Game 7 from the Cavs. At least the Pistons can say, we're young. We didn't make a move at the trade deadline beyond bringing in Kevin Huerter. They really took the Oklahoma City approach from 2 years ago. They wanted to give this group a playoff run, and some clear holes were identified and exposed. I mean, they need more shooting.
Yeah.
Duren did not play anywhere near his regular season level. The guy's probably going to end up on an all-NBA team because of all the injuries in this league this year. We very rarely saw all-NBA play from him in these playoffs. So the Pistons certainly have questions, but the questions that the Cavs avoid by winning this game so handily, or at least putting on the shelf for one more round. I mean, had the Cavs lost this Game 7 after taking a 3-2 lead and being able to close this thing out at home, it would have been really uncomfortable for them immediately, like the seconds after the buzzer. The Pistons can take a little bit more of a pragmatic approach, even though it is a disappointment. I mean, this was There was a spot in the Eastern Conference Finals up for grabs for both of these teams. Really up for grabs. This was a coin flip series.
Well, I almost disagree, and I think your perspective that you just shared is going to be most people's perspective, and it's a very pragmatic one. But I don't know about you. I'm spending a lot of time trying to figure out just the direction of the league and what these new CBAs and lottery reform and all that means about long-term contention. And it just feels to me, maybe it's because of my perspective in Denver, but it feels to me like teams are rising and falling faster than ever. Like you could pop up out of nowhere quick and you could fall and crash to the ground faster than ever. And this Pistons run reminds me in many ways of the Nuggets' first run back in 2019. If you remember that one, Mark, they beat a not very good Spurs team in round one, but it took 7 games. And they went to a not very good but okay Portland team, and it went 7 games, and they lost game 7 on their home court. So very much mirrors what the Pistons have done. But why I bring it up is when I talk about rising and falling, I know everybody tries to look at this like arc. You have a great player in Cade. Let's extend this for 10 years. But I almost wonder if they might look back on this and say, what are the chances? How many conference finals is Cade Cunningham going to make in the next 5 seasons? Cade Cunningham and the Pistons, I should say. And I would set the line at 1. Like it's so hard to do. And so if you had a chance now where you made to a game 7, I just think we'll look back at this 3 years from now and say, that was not a first year, take your time, ease into it. It was, if you're open, go for it, because you never know when you're going to fall out of contention in this new CBA.
No, I'm with you. And look, I think if you go back and look at our shows from February, I'm pretty sure I said, I wish the Pistons would have been more aggressive, because this East is so wide open. And in a way, it's been even more wide open than we anticipated, because the way the Celtics finished the regular season, we thought, wow, okay, the Celtics they got Tatum back. They've now filled the void in a conference where we're struggling to pinpoint teams that we think can get to the finals and give either the Thunder or a Spurs a good series. But the Pistons are still in the East. And unlike, that's something that your Nuggets cannot say. And they do still have a lot of flexibility to make moves. They have not, they still have wiggle room. They still have financial flexibility. They still have draft chips to move around. So whereas, if you want to compare this to Denver, which is obviously the team I think you know the best and that you're closest to, the Nuggets have just been going all in to just try to get as good a team around Jokic as they could. They won one, but now the Nuggets are definitely on that list of teams that they know their supporting cast isn't good enough, but they're lacking the flexibility to really change it. Detroit does have that, but I do think you're right. And if Trajan Langdon does a season-ending media availability in Detroit, which I would anticipate he will, that has to be one of the first 1, 2, 3 questions he gets.
Probably.
You stood pat, essentially. You stood pat at the deadline. Do you wish you were more aggressive? Because Cade Cunningham, the man, came back from a collapsed lung. And yes, he had some rough moments in these playoffs, a lot of turnovers, but he also, he led his team back from a 3-1 deficit in the first round. No matter who you're playing, that does not happen every day.
It's one of my big takeaways, man. Cade is that guy. He can carry you. Just give him a coherent, complete roster, and that's hard to do.
Did you see Cade tonight was the first American player to get first place MVP votes, first American-born player since 2021.
Wow. I did not see that.
He only got two. He only got 2. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander got 83 first place votes. Jokic got 10. Wemby got 5. Cade got the other 2. But yes, Cade Cunningham took an incredible leap this season, but he needs more help. Clearly, they got to get more shooting around him. They've got to get some more shot creation around him so he doesn't have to do it all. Yeah.
I think the 2 votes are well deserved, by the way, in my opinion. I think Cade Cunningham is, he's appreciated quite a bit, but I just walk away from this thinking that is one of the few guys I feel like you can build an entire roster around. He's that good. And for Pistons fans, I do think they have a lot of excitement going forward. I don't think that they've, hurt themselves or anything like that. It's just, I do think every team is going to look back after a 3 or 4 year run with a core and say, man, that ended quicker than we thought, because this new CBA just seems to have everybody on the run. Speaking of the new CBA though, I am so curious what you were hearing about how you evaluate Jalen Duren after this playoffs, because what a great year he had, improvement all around. But I don't think you can overstate how bad he was in this playoffs, or I should just say how ineffective he was in these playoffs. So what are people saying?
Well, especially because at the end of the regular season, people are saying, you got to max this guy.
Max.
You got to give him a huge max. And again, we saw very little of that all NBA level in this series. So yes, that's one of the difficult decisions that Detroit is going to face. What are those negotiations with Duren going to look like? And so even though obviously you wouldn't say that Detroit wanted things to turn out this way, because obviously they wanted to win the series and go to the conference finals, but you do wonder if for the long term, the money saved, the money that they presumably would be able to save now, I wonder if that does end up helping them in the long term, because if you max Duren, now that obviously changes your flexibility equation.
I don't think you can max him. And maybe this is a blessing in disguise in a weird way, because if you do max a guy and he doesn't turn out to be that, you are stuck now with two maxes.
Yeah, you just said it. You do not want to max a player who is not worthy of it. You just can't do that.
Yeah. And so now they might be in a position where they can go into the offseason. Maybe it saves money on him and he gets paid what might be more appropriate to what his impact level is, and it allows you long-term flexibility. So if I'm a Detroit fan, that's probably the story I'm telling myself is, okay, we dodged a bullet there. But at the same time, it is concerning because I like Jalen Duren, but there seems to be a lot that he has to work on between this summer. This will be a big summer for him, not just for payday, but also you see what playoff basketball is like when you go up against physical guys and tall defenders. He struggled with it. He'll have to bounce back. Let's talk about the Cavs. The Cavs get the win, and it was only a week and a half ago or so that we were burying Cleveland, and I shouldn't say we, I just mean the media in general, fan analysts in general, for going down 0-2 in this series. Since that moment, James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley even, they've looked really good, and they are back in the conference finals for the first time post-LeBron. We're going to talk in a second about teams that maybe have expired. Cleveland felt like they had expired last year. It felt like, okay, maybe this isn't it. They do make a big trade, but here they are in the conference finals. This has to be viewed as a successful season now for Cleveland, and they have a shot, one of 4 teams remaining.
First trip to the conference finals without LeBron James since 1992, long before the days that podcasts were possible. So, yeah, I mean, the Game 5 performance, especially this performance, Donovan Mitchell having never been to a conference finals, this is a huge moment for him. I still think, though, the Cavs, honestly, are going to face, like, the questions that they, unless, I mean, the Knicks, to me, have established themselves as deserved favorites in the East now. I think the Knicks win the next round. Will the Cavs be able to play freer in that series because they were so close to elimination in this one? Possibly. But just remember, Donovan Mitchell has a similar contract to Giannis Antetokounmpo, and he's contract extension eligible in July. If the Cavs don't get him signed to an extension, does that mean they start listening to trade offers for him? Their finances, they're the only second apron team in the league. So they're going to have to do something to loosen that up. And when they made the trade for James Harden at the trade deadline, it was instantly presumed around the league that he's getting a multi-year deal. Now that multi-year deal should come in at a lower annual number than the $39 million that Harden made this season. But the Cavs don't have financial flexibility. They don't have a lot of picks to make changes. Teams have been trying to get Jared Allen off them for a long time. Will they finally cave there? So this was a huge step. I don't want to diminish it because Donovan Mitchell has had to hear over and over and over again about how he's never been to the conference finals. And he was great tonight. 15 points in that third quarter, even though he was racking up 5 fouls along the way. I mean, this is a monster win for the Cavs to do this on the road. But I would just say again, Detroit is a younger team, younger in its evolution with a lot more flexibility. the Cavs have to get something done this spring. They have
Yeah.
if the Knicks beat them 4-1 or a sweep, Cleveland is right back in the position where we are criticizing them heavily.
Really? See,
Yeah.
that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, does this just constitute a success? Because this is a big win. They've knocked off the 1 seed. You're in the conference finals, but you still, I mean, and the Knicks are playing unbelievable basketball, man. In this playoffs, they have really reached their peak. And you're saying if they fall to that, it's throw it all out the window. You're still the most expensive roster.
If it's a lopsided series.
Yeah,
now,
it's a lopsided series. Yep.
If it's, if they take the Knicks 6-7 or the Knicks go to the finals, or if the Cavs go to the finals, I'll be the first one to hat tip them, because I am not. I think the Knicks are going to win that series, and Cleveland's future is murky because of the finances.
Yeah,
it's just, they are so expensive, and it's tough. Look, you're living this in Denver. Like, when you are expensive and you want to change things around, it's really hard to do that. So, again, I do not want to rain on the Cavs parade. This is a tremendous moment for them, because I thought Detroit had reclaimed momentum in the series. Great win for the Cavs. Huge individual moment for Donovan Mitchell. But, I see in chat, too, Donovan Mitchell is going to be wanting a monster deal if you extend him, and he's almost 30 now. Yep. So there's a lot of question marks still in Cleveland, as great a night as this is for them.
Well, another thing I wanted to ask you was, they are the most expensive roster. They're a second apron team, and I feel like all these owners are looking around, and general managers too, are looking around and trying to understand, how bad is it if we go in the second round? Is it ever worth it? And I just wonder if the Cavs' expensive roster, they got over the hump. They're in the conference finals. And I just wonder if you think it'll influence other teams to maybe look around and say, you know what? It worked for them. Maybe it works for us. Let's spend and go into the second apron, even though we know all the penalties you lose.
I honestly, I look at Indiana. Now, the Pacers have caught so much hell for what they did with their first round pick and trading it for Zubac, and that pick falls out of the top 4. And now you look at it and you're like, oh my God, Indiana gave up number 5 in this draft, a 2029 unprotected first, and Benedict Mathurin, all of that for Zubac. Oh my God, this is so terrible. Why did they do this? And look, you can certainly make that case, and it's a defensible case, and the Clippers are going to get somebody really good at number 5, and it might be painful. But the reason Indiana, there is nuance here, and the reason Indiana ultimately did it was because Zubac is a borderline all-star, might be an all-star center in the East, but he's only making $21 million. And that kind of contract is so valuable for a player that productive at that number. And Indy's calculus was, we got to give all this up now, because if we wait till summer, there might be a bidding war for Zubac and we might lose it. So I just cite that example just to show you that's the way teams think. I'm going to overpay, and it is an overpay, but I'm going to overpay for a guy who can really produce on a team-friendly deal, because if Zubac is an all-star in the East at 21 mil, and you got guys making 50 and 60, I mean, that's why. That's what teams want to find. Those kind of players who you can call at 21 million, you can call a bargain.
The second apron is really a hard cap. It's not really a hard cap, but it really is. It allows the owners to treat it as this hard cap. We can't do that. It's too risky, and it's just unfortunate, man. Let's talk about the teams that have expired here. So I think if we step back and look, the Nuggets, the Timberwolves, the Celtics, and the Sixers, if you're those 4 teams, you all considered yourself, with the Sixers, I think were tough because the health factor was such a variable for them. But the other ones, I think, have been in this plateau where they've been up here near the top, or even at the top in some cases, and they've been hovering around. But I wonder if all 4 of those teams, in your opinion, and just from what you're hearing around, do all 4 of those teams kind of feel like the ride is over? Not that they'll be bad if they run it back and stick to the formula, but that it's now looking more and more clear like their ceiling is not quite at the same level as the top teams in the NBA now.
I have to point you again to the NBA map. When you're in the West, that landscape looks a lot more bleak. And that's why the Nuggets and the Wolves, who I think most people would say have been the best recent rivalry we've seen in this league, that came from nowhere. These two teams from the same division that met in the playoffs multiple times. Playoff series have been great between these teams. There's a real rivalry and animosity there. But again, making, the Wolves have Ant Edwards and the Nuggets have Jokic, but the moves you need to make to refresh their supporting casts are so much harder because of the financial situations those teams are in. And again, because the Spurs and the Thunder and the Spurs, got to put the defending champs, got to put that in the right order till, the Thunder are the defending champs.
Yeah.
Like, they have set such a high bar, and there's so much ground to make up to compete with those teams. And whereas the Celtics, as inventive and bold as Brad Stevens has been, I just think somehow they're going to find a way to recharge themselves with a trade. And again, they're in the East. One move can move you up the ladder a lot quicker in the East than in the West. That is just reality.
Well, and the harsh truth is, if you were to project forward, we haven't even gotten to the draft or free agency, but if you were just to project forward who's going to finish 1-2 in the West next year, I think it's safe to say Thunder and Spurs. We don't know, but it feels like we know it'll be those two. And if you told me who's going to finish 1-2 in the East, I have no idea. I mean, we really don't. The Knicks are obviously very good, but they were third this year. And so there's this opportunity to be a 1 seed. It doesn't feel like there's an opportunity to be a 1 seed in the West right now.
And so this will probably unsettle you further.
Oh, no.
With Minnesota, there's always that talk that they might get traded to the East here when expansion comes.
Unreal.
Which might be the best trade in franchise history if that happens.
It's
so
true.
Like, there again, not only is Ant younger than Jokic, but that is somewhere down the road on the horizon somewhere.
What do you anticipate the conversation being with Joel Embiid this offseason? Because I think it's actually interesting with him.
Realistically, there is no conversation. I just don't think there's no market because of his injury. I mean, the contract numbers are,
$50+ million.
Oh, yeah. 60s.
60 million.
Like it's just, I don't even think you can really, I can't imagine what sort of trade you could really assemble there. So the good news for them is they have Maxey, Edgecombe, Bob Myers just did a press conference and sure made it sound like he's going to be a lot more involved than we were anticipating with whoever comes in as Daryl Morey's replacement. And so I'm sure they'll be aggressive to try to make changes. Paul George, honestly, is much more tradable, I think, than Joel Embiid. He's in the same contract situation as Trae Young was this past season, but the difference again is Trae Young is much younger. Paul George is 36, but Paul George only has 1 year left on his deal guaranteed, then a player option. So let's, I wouldn't promise it, but let's see, possibly could a trade market emerge there? I would just say I think there's a better chance than a trade market emerging for Joel Embiid.
Is Adam Silver doing this to you personally, Mark? The news breakers and the people that know, because we have the Supermax contract and then we have the second apron and then we have these new lottery rules. It just feels like you sign guys to these big contracts. If they get hurt or slow down, you can never trade them. Even if they were on regular contracts, it's hard enough to trade. It just feels like there's a lot of teams that you have one contract that you're like, that's untradeable. You can't do anything until that contract expires. And I just don't remember the league ever feeling like this, where every team has one guy that can never be traded.
I don't think they're doing it to me, but they're sure doing it to the teams. I mean, look, as soon as the apron system was put in, everybody knew that this was going to be drastic and it was essentially going to function like a hard cap. And so we're seeing it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're seeing it probably more than most.
I'm seeing it very clear. It's not good for the Nugs over here. All right, Mark, let's take a break. On the other side, though, of this break, I do want to talk about LeBron James's future, what a playoffs he's had, and it feels like he's got 5 more years in the tank. And then we're going to talk about rest versus rust. That's kind of a big storyline as we head to the conference finals. We'll get to that on the other side. Kalshi, the playoffs are underway, and it's the most electric time in basketball. On Kalshi, you can trade every single playoff game, every series, the conference finals, and, of course, the championship. Right now on Kalshi, the Oklahoma City Thunder are trading at 59% chance to win the NBA championship, San Antonio Spurs at 24%, New York Knicks at 15%, and the Cavs at 5%. You like any of those, you can hop on over to Kalshi here. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house, and the probability changes. You can buy in and out of your position for a limited time. Download the Kalshi app and use the code ALLNBA, all one word, to get $10 when you trade 10. Kalshi, Kalshi. Trade on anything. 18 plus only. Restrictions apply and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, go to kalshi.com/regulatory. Also want to tell you guys about Quince. I was wearing some Quince clothing today. Spring reset. Upgrade your everyday essentials with fewer pieces but better materials. This time of year always makes you rethink what's in your closet. You're trying to keep fewer things but the better ones, pieces that are well made and easy to wear all the time. Then you can go check out Quince. The fabrics feel elevated. The fits are thoughtful and the pricing actually makes sense. They actually have way more clothes than you would realize. They have everything you can possibly imagine. It's an enormous selection, and they're all high-quality stuff. I was wearing some Kalshi shorts today as I was coaching my daughter's team. The best part of the prices are 50 to 60% less than similar brands. How? Quince works directly with ethical factories and cuts out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality, not brand markup. Everything is designed to last and makes getting dressed easy. Refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/allNBA for free shipping and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. Go to QUINCE.com/allNBA for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/allNBA. Back here on the All-NBA show with my partner, Marc Stein. Let's move on now and talk about LeBron James's future.
Did you know, first of all, that I have 2 Blazers from Quince? Did you know that?
Do you? I did not know that. Did you really?
Yes, I
And
do.
how do you like them?
Fantastic.
They didn't have my height for shirts. I'm too tall. I'm 6'6", so I'm too tall for most places. They didn't have it.
Flex.
Well, it's not really a flex. I'm telling you, I couldn't find the clothing. Let's talk about LeBron James. If you would have told me 2 months ago before the playoffs started, the LeBron story, it just felt really open and shut. But he played so well in this playoffs, man, so well. And it's not, I'm not just saying this because it's exciting to talk about LeBron or this or that. He played in a way where I'm like, man, he could still be a very I don't know if he could be the best player on a championship team, but he could certainly be the second best player on a championship team. So, is his future more interesting to you? And what's kind of the latest word on all the moving pieces around LeBron?
It's been a huge topic. I was actually in LA Monday for the Lakers elimination, and there was a lot of what I would say just in case energy in the building. Just in case this is the last game. You had to think it.
Yeah.
I don't see, again, this is just my read. Only LeBron knows, and I'm not sure if LeBron himself knows yet, because it's not clear which team he's going to be playing for next season. But he was the best player in the Houston series. I just cannot see him walking away from the game. But the issue here is, and everyone's trying to figure this puzzle out, any team you want to list, whether it's going back to the Lakers, the Dream Storybook Homecoming Farewell Tour in Cleveland, Knicks, Warriors, whatever scenario you want to come up with that you think LeBron James would find amenable, they have huge financial limitations. So it's not easy for any of those teams to have LeBron on their roster next season. So that's why right now in mid-May, it's really hard to forecast this. We might still be a good 5-6 weeks away from really knowing what his options are. I don't know, man. I can't see this being it. Even though he's 41, I just can't see it.
In part because it's funny, man. I was ready for LeBron to retire. I'll be honest, just as a fan of the game. in part because I thought maybe he had fallen too far. And I do think the 82-game season, it's not just him. A lot of guys, it's hard to get through the 82-game season. And I just wondered, like, maybe it is time to hang it up. But this playoff run, I watch him and I go, man, he's still so good when it matters. When he's able to play in this playoff rhythm, he's still so stinking good that I have to imagine a lot of teams would be after him. So if he is back, as I anticipate, is it going to be one of these things where we already know it's a handful, or is this as open as we've seen? LeBron's gone to free agency a handful of times now. Does this feel as open as it's been in recent history?
No, because everyone knows he doesn't want to leave LA. Okay. Let's not forget, he's been a Laker for 8 seasons. That's his longest continuous stretch with any one team in his career. So nobody thinks he wants to leave, but the Lakers only have cap space if they let his $52 million get off the books, and then, then they can try to go to work. And, they've been pointing to this upcoming summer for so long that this is the summer they're finally going to retool around Luka Doncic. So can they do that and sign LeBron at a lesser number that he's okay with? Does LeBron really want to take a discount? That's something he's going to have to reckon with. Again, like everyone talks about Cleveland. Why doesn't he just go back to Cleveland for a third marriage? He's been in LA so long. That, to me, that is a more drastic move than it looks like on paper. Of course, he's played for the Cavs twice. He's from Northern Ohio, but he's been in Angelino now for 8 years. And I don't know that he's in a real rush to change that. So, like I said, it's when I talk to people around the league and when I ask people who have studied LeBron or know LeBron much better than I do, pretty much everybody comes back with that same answer of he's going to play one more year. But when you press and say where, nobody today can tell you where exactly.
Well, it'll be another summer of LeBron as well as a summer of Giannis
this whole summer, because free agency, as we know, all the action now happens really before free agency. But the trades, like there is a huge chance that we're going to see significant trade activity because so many teams want to shuffle the pack and change their rosters around, and trades are going to be the only way they can do it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens there. Let me, our last topic here though, as we head to now the conference finals, there are some teams, and OKC is one of them, the Knicks are another, that have just been sitting there waiting with their feet up. They might have taken a trip down to Cancun for a couple of days. They could have gotten away with it. They have been able to rest, and I think personally that rest is actually huge in today's NBA in the playoffs. If you can get a series or two done early, it gives you a leg up. But because those two teams swept their series, you start to wonder, is rust actually a concern? The Knicks in particular were in such a great rhythm that now they're taking, I don't know what it'll be, 8 days off between their last game and the next game. Is there a concern that rust will be bigger factor than rest will be?
I actually like the rust for the Knicks because, for one, they got to get Anunoby right, and the rest allows them to do that. And also, Cleveland's series with Detroit was such a roller coaster that I don't think Cleveland is as great as tonight was. I don't know that Cleveland just bounces back with all kinds of life and spring in game one. Whereas Oklahoma City, it's interesting. There is this notion that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is one of those guys who doesn't like an extended rest. And they had an extended rest after round one. And if you go back to game one of the Lakers Thunder series, the Lakers really applied a lot of pressure to SGA in game one because they thought that might be something that they could exploit, that, SGA doesn't love the idea of having such a long break. So look, the Thunder are getting Jalen Williams back. Jalen Williams is off the injury report completely. They didn't have him at all in the second round. So that's got to be great news for the Thunder because you have to think they're going to need Jalen Williams to get past a Spurs team that beat them 4 times out of 5 during the regular season. But yeah, I think, like I said, this is just one man's premonition.
Yeah. The
game one scores might prove me wrong, but I just think the Spurs have an opportunity to steal game one. Whereas I think the Knicks if Detroit wins the series, the Knicks start on the road. Now the Knicks are starting at home. They're probably getting Anunoby back. Anunoby's been practicing. The Knicks, this is their best chance to make the finals the Knicks haven't been to the finals since 1999. I think MSG is going to be rocking, and I think the Cavs is going to be a whole different ball game for the Cavs in this next round.
See, I almost see it a little bit different in that what the Knicks.
I knew it.
What the Knicks have been doing in this playoffs that has been so impressive is they have been moving the ball. Their just rhythm together, their connection together has been so impressive. And I think connection in basketball, I mean, it is so hard to grasp onto. You can have a hold of it, but it can evaporate so quickly. A bad game can knock you off rhythm. In fact, these very Knicks had a great, late December, early January, and it was followed by a horrible stretch. Like their best stretch and worst stretch came almost back to back. And that's why I worry about them, is that they were playing in a rhythm I hadn't really seen them play at in months. They were playing at that, and they just took a week off. So that's why. Now, I will say what an advantage it is to play a team that just played in a very exhausting 7-game series. Not the case for Oklahoma City. San Antonio, it was a 6-game series. Those guys are so young. They're fresh. I think both teams will be rested there. But the Knicks, that's why I'm concerned about the Knicks. They were in such a good rhythm, and we'll see if that rhythm was able to bounce back after 8 days off.
Okay.
All right. We'll have to wait and see. I will say Madison Square Garden will be popping. And if you're a little weary, if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, going into that atmosphere is going to be a test of resolve, I will say.
They won this series, and again, absolute props to them, because I don't think a lot of people were picking Cleveland to win this Game 7 after what happened in Game 6. But I don't know. I just see the transition they face as more difficult.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. All right, Mark, any final thoughts before we get you out of here?
I think we did all right. I think we covered the bases. What's on tomorrow? What's on tomorrow's show? Legs?
Tomorrow's show's legs, and he and I, we're actually not doing NBA tomorrow. We're just talking about the Sabres Game 7.
Oh, so I can dial into that one?
Yeah, so you can tune in. Make sure you don't miss it. It's going to be great.
Game 7.
He is Marc Stein, the world's biggest Buffalo Sabres fan. Thank you so much, Mark. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, indeed.
We're going to now go to a new sponsored segment here. We did this last week. We're going to do it again this week. It is, of course, our Kalshi Market Watch. Kalshi Market Watch here. And this is where we look at some players or something that is a stock up or stock down right now. And I wanted to give my players who I think either have made had huge movement in their own personal stocks in this playoffs. I'm going to start with Victor Wembanyama. I've talked about him a lot, so I won't spend much time, but I just feel like his stock is way up. This is a big series for him against OKC. I had the question with him. He's dominant defensively. Offensively, he really figured himself out this year, in my opinion, really figured out how best to put pressure on defenses as an offensive player. But defensively, he was a juggernaut really since he walked into the league. And what I wondered about these playoffs was, could some team find something that is uncomfortable for him? Is there anything? And we're 2 rounds into this. Hasn't been the greatest offenses, but the answer is no. He is the most comfortable he's ever been in these playoffs. Absolutely dominant juggernaut. His stock to me is actually up, which I know is crazy to say for a guy who received MVP votes this year, but yet his stock is up. AJ Mitchell, stock way up. Are you kidding me? This guy, stock through the roof. Starter, but maybe the best player for the Oklahoma City Thunder in round 2. Shea, obviously the best player, but when the teams are overloading on him, somebody has to step up. That's somebody, AJ Mitchell, more than capable. I think Paul Reed, what he's done in these playoffs, Jalen Duren was rough, but Paul Reed stepped in. B-ball Paul on a $5 million contract. You're looking around at this guy. He showed a plethora of skills. His touch around the basket, his rebounding, his defensive versatility. I think LeBron James's stock is weirdly up. We just talked about him, but if you asked me what I think of LeBron right now versus what I thought of him maybe 4 months ago, definitely I would say it's up, and this playoffs was very impressive for him. I think Dylan Harper and Stephen Castle both stock up. I mean, both of those guys, the playoffs, if you were going to make a case against San Antonio this year, it was that those 2 guys in particular, Wemby, whatever, but those 2 guys might need a year of going through the fire before they really step into their form. They're elevating game by game right now, round by round, and they are capable of dominating even great players like we saw in Minnesota. They still can be the best guards in any given playoff game. And then I'll say Karl-Anthony Towns. I think it's an underrated thing because they swept last round, so it happened so quickly. But Karl-Anthony Towns has been phenomenal, like a completely different version of himself in this playoffs, and he's a big part of why the Knicks have been as good as they are. So I think Karl-Anthony Towns, look at the market for him, way up right now. And now he gets to go up against the twin bigs out there in Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. And I think it's a good matchup for Karl-Anthony Towns. I think he is going to be a big impact and probably the biggest factor in that series. All those guys, I think their stock is up. If I go stock down, I think Jalen Duren, we've talked a lot about him. There's no question. He might have cost himself a lot of money with how he performed in these playoffs. Feel bad for him because I actually really like the guy. I think Julius Randle's stock is down, especially if you look at some of the things that Timberwolves fans kind of Timberwolves players alluded to in their exit interviews. I think you can make the argument that his stock is down right now, and he is the player I think Minnesota most probably wants to move on from. I think Joel Embiid, as we mentioned, he had a great first round, really won it for them in the first round, but you get to a second round and his defense was pretty ineffective, and now you're looking at an albatross of a contract. And I think Jamal Murray, stock way down. Jamal Murray, and it's tough because this is his first all-star season. I think he's going to be all-NBA, and yet at the end of the year, his stock is down, not up, because how much he was erased in the playoffs. I think that he is now a player that you look at. I mean, playoff Jamal, this was a thing we all talk about. 3 straight years, Jamal Murray has slid in the playoffs, not risen. So this idea of Jamal Murray, which was very true for the first half of his career, this playoff riser, kind of the ultimate playoff riser, unfortunately now we're talking about 3 years in a row where he has been a playoff faller. And I think now you have to wonder if that guy still is even capable of elevating to championship level the way he was for the Denver Nuggets. So kind of a new segment. I think it's fun to kind of step back and look at this. For a limited time, you download the Kalshi app and use the code ALLNBA to get $10 when you trade 10. KALSHI, Kalshi. Trade on anything, 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. That's it for today, guys. Tomorrow, Tim Legler is going to be joining me again a little bit later. I think we're going at 2 Eastern time tomorrow, but we're going to be breaking down both the game that we all just watched, Pistons and Cavs. We're going to do a game breakdown on that, and we're going to look ahead to both conference finals. The Final Four is here in the NBA. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget, we also have these awesome videos from Will Gottlieb, these player prospect breakdowns, 5 minutes to get familiar with all the players in the lottery. I promise you're going to love them. They're up on our channel right now. We have Boozer, Debanza, Peterson, and Wilson. You can watch all of those in just 20 minutes and get familiar with all their strengths and weaknesses. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hit the like button on the way out. We'll see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.